Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to talk about things that are going on, but explain what's going on, and talk about things that I think that are being done right and or done wrong. Here we go.
I'm Sergeant Vincent Cole with the Phoenix Police Public Affairs Bureau. The information, audio, video, and pictures you're about to see are intended to provide details as we currently understand them of an officer-involved shooting that occurred on August 28, 2022. This video may contain strong language as well as graphic images which could be disturbing to some people. Viewer discretion is advised. The incident began around 8:30 on a Sunday night near 27th Avenue and Deer Valley Road when Phoenix police began receiving reports of shots fired in the area. Callers described a man shooting near a local motel and restaurant. Here are excerpts of several 911 calls received.
Phoenix 911, where is your emergency?
Hi, my name is Emmett at West Deer Valley, and I believe there's a man behind us in front of firing an automatic weapon.
Oh, that there?
Huh?
Was that what I just heard right now?
Yeah, right now.
Phoenix 911, where is your emergency?
There's a guy like shooting. Oh, he just threw the window. He just threw something at the window. I'm at the across the. He's got a gun in his hand with like a helmet on. He's shot like 20 times.
Okay.
He just broke the window.
He just hit the window.
He's in the. I mean, he's at the parking lot. He's walking around.
Phoenix 911, what is the address of your emergency?
We're on Deer Valley Road. We're at by I-17. There's a shootout in the parking lot.
Okay, what's the address?
I don't know what the address is, man. I'm not from this part of the town.
Do you know where the shooter is?
They're in the parking lot right now.
The shooter is still in the parking lot?
Yeah, there's like a white vehicle shooting with another individual.
Okay, we have officers headed out there right now.
Much of the incident was captured on surveillance cameras from several businesses in the area. The cameras from the motel record video only, so we have taken the silent video from the motel and matched it to the nearest second with the sound of recorded surveillance video from a gas station next door to give you a better understanding of the events that took place. Video from inside the motel shows the suspect leaving his room wearing tactical gear, including a helmet, a ballistic vest, a gas mask, knee pads, and armed with a rifle and holding a Molotov cocktail. Once outside, he almost immediately began walking around firing his rifle at buildings and vehicles. Less than 30 seconds later, as the suspect is walking through the parking lot, a white car pulls in. The suspect keys in on the car and opens fire on it, striking and killing an adult male and an adult female. 3 other people inside the car take off running. The suspect continued to wander the parking lot, firing off dozens of rounds at random unoccupied cars. He made his way closer to a restaurant with people inside and...
Alright, we'll stop at this point and we'll back up to him killing these people.
Parking lot, a white car pulls in. The suspect keys in on the car and opens fire on it, striking and killing an adult male and an adult female. 3 other people in.
So that happens pretty quick. This is a hotel. It's at nighttime. I don't know if this is a bad part of town or not. Judging by the vehicles in the parking lot, It doesn't necessarily look like it's a bad part of town. You see some work vehicles here. There's a couple of cars that are kind of, crappy looking, but some of the other vehicles here, I mean, they don't look like that. There's some hotels where you go in the parking lot, you can tell that a lot of the people there with these vehicles are people who actually live there on a full-time basis. There's just some hotels that are like that. Others, not so much. But even if it was a kind of a bad neighborhood, like, this is not something that you're going to be expecting. Someone walking around with a rifle and just start shooting at you. Like, the thing that you would expect is once you get out of your car, or as you're attempting to get out of your car, someone will come to it and then try to rob you. This is not a very highly realistic kind of threat. Being robbed, mugged, is more likely. They probably weren't even looking in this direction when he fired. They were probably having, conversations inside, listening to music, talking, whatever. And then he immediately started firing. I don't know if that first shot or first couple rounds he fired immediately incapacitated the driver, or what. They, of course, are not going to provide that much information. It's plausible that the first couple rounds did immediately incapacitate him. That's why the vehicle has stopped. Rifle cartridges are going to go through a car door, no problem whatsoever. Even a small .22 long rifle cartridge will go through a car door with no problem whatsoever. 9mm can go through both doors. I've seen it. Depends on where it hits on the door, and if it hits on the side where there's a lot of material, or it hits the thickest part of the interior part of that, or not the interior of the door, but the cab interior side, the molding and everything, how much material it goes through it, if it goes to the thick armrest or whatever. If it hits some of those things, it can slow it down and prevent it from going through that second door. But if you get, the right angles, you can have a 9mm go through both car doors, no problem whatsoever. Rifle, definitely punching through. That's why I say that taking cover behind cars is not always the greatest thing to do, because they suck for cover. If it's the only thing, that's the only thing. But obviously, them coming to this parking lot, they're not really thinking about, we don't need to take cover or nothing. They just immediately start taking fire. So those first couple rounds that he fired could have immediately incapacitated that driver. And that's why we see the vehicle stop. I think another possibility of why we see the vehicle completely stop is it's on a speed bump right there. And I think as he was slowing to come down over it, he was shot, incapacitated, and then the vehicle just stops right there on that speed bump, and there's not enough acceleration force, even with the car remaining in gear, for it to overcome that resistance right there and then continue on. If that speed bump wasn't there, then I would suspect that this car would probably start rolling forward, even if, you don't have his foot on the accelerator. Just it being in gear, it will move under its own power. These other people immediately dismount from the vehicle, and that's realistically the best thing you can do, is dismount and run. Do the Nike drill. Just run. There's nothing wrong about that. I mean, even if one of these people had a gun, there's nothing wrong with them running. It's not tactically sound to try to hide behind that car and fight it out with a person who's got a fucking rifle. It's just not likely. So they did the right thing, dismounting from that vehicle and running. There's nothing else they could do to help those other people there. So there's nothing cowardly about them running or anything like that. I'll play this part again.
Later, as the suspect is walking through the parking lot, a white car pulls in. The suspect keys in on the car and opens fire on it, striking and killing an adult male and an adult female. 3 other people inside the car take off running.
look at it, it looks like the wheel is resting on the speed bump. So it could be that his foot has just mashed down into the brake, and that's what's keeping the vehicle from going forward.
The suspect continued to wander the parking lot, firing off dozens of rounds at random unoccupied cars. He made his way closer to a restaurant with people inside and threw a Molotov cocktail at the window. The window did not break, and the device did not ignite. The suspect came in contact with several community members that he pointed a gun at but did not shoot. For the next several minutes, the suspect walks around randomly, firing dozens of shots. Some of the bullets flying across Deer Valley Road, piercing cars and buildings, injuring a couple of innocent bystanders. As police neared the scene, the dispatcher advises shots are still being fired.
As of 2043, they are still hearing shots being fired. And we do have one victim so far that was shot in the ear and the arm.
As officers arrived on scene, they were immediately met with a barrage of gunfire. Two officers were injured. One was able to return fire but did not hit the suspect. Officers use call signs to identify themselves on the radio. Terminology such as 933 NORA identifies a specific patrol unit. In this radio transmission, you will also hear 999, which is a police radio code for an officer needing help urgently.
934 NORA, taking round.
934 NORA, taking round.
932 after my partner's hit. He's in the parking lot of...
933.
Sure, Charlie 9 officers are taking rounds up there on Deer Valley.
999. West Deer Valley, 999. West Deer Valley. On Charlie Death 999.
I'm hit. I'm ready for the
999.
Body-worn cameras are used
On Charlie Death 999.
I'm hit. I'm ready for the
All right. So you hear the radio traffic going on. So this radio system allows, while one person's keyed up, it seems like another person can key up and it'll bleed through. Some radio systems they're not like that. When one person's talking and you try to key your radio up, you'll just get a tone because you can't get on the system. But this one, it sounds like they're able to key up and kind of bleed through the other transmissions here. That tone that you're hearing, the doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, that's an emergency button being pressed, or the dispatcher is initiating the emergency tone. The emergency tone is basically an alert tone that is very noticeable, and for people who may not be paying attention to the radio, they got turned down a little bit. All they can hear is just maybe some background chatter. They can't really discern the talking and what's going on, verbatim. But as soon as they hear the they know, oh shit, something's going on, and they're most likely going to turn that radio up and start listening and see what the hell's going on. That's also an indication for someone to say or to think, oh, I don't need to be getting on the radio right now to call out some bullshit tag number that I want to run. Like, I better shut up. There's something serious going on. So the dispatcher's going to initiate that from their dispatch console, or an officer with their own portable radio or the radio in their car can initiate that. And the radios will typically have an orange colored button on them, and it's sometimes referred to as the oh shit button or the man down button, or they just call it the emergency button. And once you press that, it sends that tone out across the net to let everyone hear it and grab their attention. On some radio systems, for the radios that have a display screen on it, when you look at that screen, it'll flash like a color on there, and it'll even have the radio ID of who's initiating that emergency button. And that depends on the agency on how that radio is labeled in the system or what its ID is. Some agencies where they share radios and stuff, it's just going to show the deck ID for that radio. Radio 15798, some string of numbers. Some agencies where they issue a radio to an officer, they may actually go in there and have someone program it and have their name on there. So when they hit that button, boom, Henderson pops up on the screen. And that also does it at the dispatch terminal as well. So the dispatcher on their screen, someone hits that button, they're going to see which specific radio is transmitting that code or that tone. And again, depending on where they're at, it can either be a string of numbers, or it can have that person's name on it. Even if it's a string of numbers, in the dispatch, their CAD or whatever, computer assisted dispatch, they can have the deck ID for who it's going to be next to the name. That way they could just look real quick. All right, this deck ID goes to such and such or whatever. Or on the dispatch terminal, they can, do notes or whatever. And be able to easily tell from that way who's keying up on the radio. Anyway, that's what all that noise and stuff you hear is. So, moving on.
Body-worn cameras are used by all officers assigned to patrol and several specialty units. Per policy, they are worn at mid-torso level and capture the view of the line of sight from that perspective. It's important to note that the body camera does not capture everything the officer sees, and the officer does not see everything the body camera captures. When activated, both audio and video turn on. The body-worn camera has a buffer of video without audio for the 30 seconds prior to activation. This feature is designed to capture incidents that happen suddenly where an officer doesn't immediately activate the camera. The Phoenix Police Department does not currently use in-car camera systems. One of the injured officers was pinned down by gunfire. Other officers devised a plan to safely go in and extract him from the area. The injured officer was loaded into the back of a police patrol Tahoe and driven to a local hospital. Body-worn camera footage of the initial contact is not available, as the officers involved did not activate their camera.
So the camera was not activated. I talk about this sometimes in some videos. I think it's best that as you're going to a call, especially a call like this, just go ahead and activate that camera while you're driving. That way, when you get out, it's one less thing you got to worry about. It's one less thing you got to fuck with. It's on, it's going, and in the heat of the moment, you ain't got to worry about trying to think about it. It's already doing its thing. And so there's a lot of footage that was lost, a lot of evidence that was lost because no one turned the camera on before they got on scene. So I think it's good practice before you're on scene, turn that camera on.
Get them out of here, go. Take him. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Go! You're good, buddy, you're good. You're good.
The gunfire from the suspect eventually stopped. When officers approached...
All right.
You're good, buddy.
So, pre-hospital care. I don't know if there's a person in the back of this squad car or not helping to render aid to the down officer, or if the down officer is in the back of the car and he's just fucking, this dude's putting the pedal to the metal and is going as fast as he can. If that is the case, if that's what's going on, if it's just one officer driving the car and the injured officer in the back, then this is 1930s level medical care. That's what went on before ambulances became a thing. In most areas, you would have the funeral home who, let's say there's a car accident out in the county or even the city, whatever. Boom, car wreck, people are fucked up. Police would go there, but they would also call the funeral home. In the funeral home, they would get in a hearse and drive out there. And because a hearse is meant to carry people laying down, and it has, a bed, a little gurney that you put someone on and lock it in the back, whatever, that seemed like the most plausible thing to do, is have that vehicle go out and then someone could lay in the back. Well, it started out being, in most places, it was just the hearse driver. Once they got there, they throw people in the back of this fucking hearse, and the hearse would take off really quick and go to the hospital. If they got there and the person was still alive, doctors and nurses would pull them out, take them in the hospital and do work. If they got there and they were dead, then I guess in some places the fucking driver just got back in the car and drove to the fucking funeral home with the body. Then that evolved to there being people in the back of this hearse. And then that evolved into some places buying hearses and turning them into ambulances. And that's why you see some old school ambulances look like hearses. Because that's what they were doing. They were just taking a hearse and converting it into an ambulance. Because that's how that progression started. And then at some point, really going into the 70s, you started having more standardization with EMS, pre-hospital care. And that's when you start seeing the big box ambulances, right? Or the vans turn into ambulances. And then EMTs and paramedics and all this training and stuff going into it. So there was a progression for pre-hospital care. It was not always the greatest back in the day. Back in the day, it was just throw someone in the back and take off. So this officer who's in the back of this car, if he's alone, he is getting the same fucking level of pre-hospital care that somebody back in the 1920s and 1930s was getting. That's it. 1940s level, like, yeah, this is like pre-standardization of EMS. That's not very good care to be receiving. When it comes to pre-hospital care, time is of essence, and there are two terminologies, or two terms, relating to that care. One is the Platinum 10, and the other is Golden Hour. These are references to time. Platinum 10 is 10 minutes. Golden Hour is the first hour, right? The hour thing kind of gives it away. Platinum 10. If you can provide pre-hospital care to a person within the first 10 minutes of them incurring some type of traumatic injury, you can increase their chances of survival by X amount %. The Golden Hour. If you can provide pre-hospital care to a person and get them to a hospital within the first hour of them incurring some type of traumatic injury, you can increase their chances of survival by X amount %. Now, I don't remember off the top of my head what that X amount % is, but it's kind of high in comparison to doing fucking nothing, right? Anything you do is going to be better than fucking nothing. So, there should be someone in the backseat with him providing care to him. In the onset, as long as you're not incapacitated, you can do self-care. But in the midst of you doing self-care, you could become incapacitated due to blood loss. So someone needs to be back there helping to provide care. When it comes to medical equipment, I'm a firm believer that if you're going to carry the tools to induce trauma, you need to carry the tools to reduce trauma. If you're going to carry a gun for a living, you need to also carry medical gear for a living. Because the reality of the matter is, you could be shot, you could be stabbed. You cannot wait on the ambulance. If you didn't know, ambulance and fire trucks do not go directly to the scene of violence. They stop and they stage a certain distance away from the scene, and they will not go there until they get the all clear from the police. And the police say, "Scene is safe, come on up." So it could take 7 minutes for that ambulance to even get in the area. And then they're not coming directly to you where you're at. They're going to sit their ass about a fucking mile away in some cases. And they're going to sit there and wait. until they're told it is clear to come. And when you factor in how some dispatch centers are all separated, you got police in one building, fire in one building, EMS in one building, that police station or that police communication center is going to have to receive the radio call from the police. Dispatch, scene is safe. Tell the ambulance to come. Then that dispatcher is going to have to manually dial a phone number, or they may have it on speed dial. The ambulance service, boom, they hit it. And they're going to talk to that other dispatcher. Yeah, PD says that the scene is safe. You can proceed forward. Okay. And then they got to get on their radio. And they got to call that ambulance. Medic, blah, blah, blah. Scene is safe. You can proceed forward. And then they go. If they're super busy, if the EMS dispatcher is busy, it may take them a second. And they're going to be asking questions too. The EMS dispatcher, how many people are injured? What kind of injuries do they have? Blah, 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 blah. It's not instantaneous. There is a fucking time delay in this. And then, once the ambulance crew receives that message, yeah, you're clear to go. Now they're going to drive up and get to the scene. And what are they going to find when they get to the scene? A sea of cop cars. Which fucking cop car do they go to? Where on this scene do they specifically go? So even once they get to where all the vehicles are, they're still going to have to figure out where the fuck people are at. Like, where's this injured person at? And until someone gets out there and starts flagging them down, they don't know where to go. So it could be well over 10 minutes before anyone with medical training can get to you. Depending on the injuries you get, your ass is dead by the time a medic gets to you. If you get a femoral hit, your femoral artery in your leg, if that gets hit and it's severed, your ass is probably going to wait out in 90 seconds. You're fucking dead. In 10 minutes, you'll be dead 5 times over before someone puts their hands on you who has a high level of training. Ain't a fucking thing they can do. A doctor could be on that ambulance. They could put the fucking emergency room in an RV and bring it to you. And there's still not a damn thing that's going to be done to bring your ass back. You're fucking gone. So tactical combat casualty care is what you have to know. You cannot be relying on just some bullshit fucking CPR AD first aid class. That shit ain't gonna fucking help you. What? You gonna use a fucking Band-Aid? You gonna use a little gauze wrap that you learn how to use in that class? No. Those bullshit CPR AD first aid classes don't teach shit about pressure bandages and tourniquets and chest seals and stuff like that. It just does very, 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 very basic medical knowledge. What you need is a course that is oriented towards TCCC, Tactical Combat Casualty Care, where you learn how to use a tourniquet, how to use pressure bandages, how to use chest seals, how to use nasopharyngeal airways, etc. You have to have that specific knowledge. And then you have to have the equipment. You have to have the tourniquet. You gotta have the pressure bandages, chest seals, etc. If you dismount from your vehicle and you go a certain distance away and you get hit in the leg, and not only is your femoral artery fucking severed, but your femur is shattered as well, and you can't run, and you're 50 to 100 yards away from your car, and you keep all your medical gear in your car because you got the mindset of, well, if I need it, it's in the car. How the fuck is your crippled ass going to get to that goddamn car and get that tourniquet out? Are you going to army crawl the whole way within 90 seconds? Are you going to hop on one foot for 50 yards? 100 yards? And get there in time in 90 seconds to get that tourniquet out of your car? Fuck no, you're not. Your ass is going to die. You have to carry this stuff on you. If you're not carrying, at bare minimum, a tourniquet on you, you are fucking stupid. No other way to say it. You need to unfuck yourself. Seriously. Being as sincere as I can. You need to unfuck yourself and come to terms with reality. Moving on.
Good. You're good.
The gunfire from the suspect eventually stopped. When officers approached him, they found him dead from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Investigators processing the scene located nearly...
So that happens a lot in active killer cases. Once some type of resistance is offered to them, they check out. They self-terminate. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. As soon as someone resists them, shoots back at them, or even the fucking sight of armed people coming towards them, they're done. They don't want to smoke. They self-terminate. And this guy had armor on. He had a rifle. He could have put up a fight. He really could have. And he did initiate a fight against them. He shot them. But he still self-terminated. And that is, when we talk about active killers, active shooters, speed is of essence in that. Get there as quick as possible. Intervene as quick as possible. So going back to Columbine, back then the idea was to set up a perimeter, and then let the specialized people go in, the SWAT team. Well, that was fucking disastrous, right? That did not work. It sounded good on paper, and it did well on drills and exercises, and everyone liked it, and they said it did a good job, but only because it was unchecked. It wasn't pressure tested. The shooting never happened. Just like these schools with these fucking lockdown procedures. That's their plan. Lockdown. That is fucking stupid. That's your only goddamn fucking response to an active shooter is lock your fucking doors? That's it? You're not even want to consider arming your teachers? Fucking ignorant. Parkland, what did he do with locked doors? Well, he shot through the fucking doors and shot students. Other active killers have shot through fucking doors and killed people. But lockdown works for administrators. It's something they can put on paper. It's something they can easily drill for and do exercises on. And everyone is all smiling from ear to ear like, we did a good job. We announced lockdown, and when we ran around and all the doors were locked and we had everything done within 2 minutes, that's a great response time. But because it's not pressure tested, it goes unchecked. The shooting never happens. They continue to go on thinking that this stupid fucking lockdown procedure is actually going to help. It's not. It is not going to fucking help. It never has fucking helped. What do you do for people who are out in the playground and an active killer comes to a school? Where the fuck are they going to lock down at? Lock down on the slide? Lock down on the big tractor tire that is out on the playground? Stupid shit. It really is. So Columbine helped change that idea of, set up perimeter and bullshit and wait. Then it morphed into get in there as quick as you can. Quick as you can. Go, 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 go. Well, it started out as, the first few officers who get there form a, diamond formation or a wedge or whatever and then go in. Then that morphed into, even if you're the one person there, you're all by yourself, get your fucking ass in there. Even one person can make a very huge difference in these active killer cases. Like I said, a lot of them, just the mere presence of resistance coming to them, they pop themselves. Columbine. They could see out the library window that the SWAT team was coming. That's when they checked out. They had shot at the patrol officers, and patrol officers shot back at them from the windows. But as soon as they saw that specialized team coming towards them, well, they went over there and did their countdown and popped themselves. Armed citizens. Just them shooting at bad guys during these events. They have checked out. Or they were lucky and made a hit, and they got, the bad guy got shot once, and then they gave up. Even though they were still physically capable of still shooting and fighting, they were mentally incapacitated. But the idea is to get in there as quick as you can. Offer that resistance. Even in cases where people were not armed and they went after the person. There's a lot of firearm malfunctions that occur in these events. Because these people, they don't know. Like, this dude had all that shit, right? He had the fucking armor, he had the helmet, the gas mask, the gun, and all that. Probably didn't have a lick of training. Majority of these active killers do not have any training or experience whatsoever. They're just a regular, untrained person who has a gun. So they don't take care of the guns the way they should. They don't operate the guns like they need to be. And there are malfunctions that occur. Quite a bit in these things. And in some cases where these malfunctions occurred, that was a window of opportunity for some person who was unarmed to rush in with their big set of balls and get physical with the person. And then they fucking give up. Offer no more resistance. Like, you got the guns and shit. Like, you can get your gun to work again and shoot this person. But they don't. They give up. They surrender. Now, some of the active killers fight to the very end. But even then, the quickest you can get in there and fight them, and even if they still want to fight but they don't move from where they're at least you contain them where they're at, and they're not moving any further. They're not advancing anywhere else throughout the structure, the facility, the landscape, whatever, and hurting more people. So, time is of essence with these incidents. Get in there as quick as you can. Alright, let me back this up a few seconds and hit play again.
Self-inflicted gunshot wound. Investigators processing the scene located nearly 200 spent rifle casings, 5 empty magazines, unused flashbangs, which is an explosive device used to temporarily disorient a person, and other tactical equipment. The officer who returned fire in this incident scene located nearly 200 spent rifle casings, 5 empty magazines, unused flashbangs.
An unused flashbang. So these are what's known real flashbangs, noise flash diversionary devices, fall under federal laws. You cannot just go out and buy a real flashbang. So this is probably an airsoft simulation of a flashbang. Yeah, you can see it right there. It says TAG. So that's an airsoft company that produces things that, like these flashbang things, they somewhat mimic a flashbang, a real one, NFED, but they're nowhere near it. Like, nowhere fucking near it. They got a loud report, and a bit of a loud flash, but it's nothing like the real thing. The pull pin and the fuse assembly is way different. It's not even an actual fuse assembly like you would find on a flashbang or any other type of grenade, because these things are regulated by the ATF. You can't even buy a military smoke grenade because of the fuse that's on it. It's considered a destructive device. It's an NFA item. So it's illegal to possess actual, real military smoke grenades, which is why these airsoft companies make these different fuses. They're not anything like the military ones. And the reason why the ATF does that is because you could take the fuse off of a flashbang, which that would not be a great idea because it has such a short fuse. But you can take the fuse off a smoke grenade and take the hull of a hand grenade, like you buy at a surplus place, fill it with an explosive material, put that fuse from the smoke grenade on it, and then you got yourself a working fragmentation grenade. So that's why the ATF regulates those kind of fuses. But like I said, airsoft companies have made a different style. It can still have a time delay on it, but it's nothing like the real fuses that come on these real devices. And this should be an all cardboard type of design here, and the flash and the noise decibels that it creates is not going to be anything like the real deal. So you can see it. I can't read upside down very well. Tactical game something incorporated, maybe. Yeah. Anyway, if you do a search for tag airsoft, you'll find a bunch of these things on there. They're toys. They're not real. So this in of itself is a huge indicator that this person had no fucking idea what the hell they were doing. Like, if you think you're going to use this against people and it's going to be effective, you're fucking stupid.
Which is an explosive device used to temporarily disorient a person and other tactical equipment.
Alright, so his tactical equipment here, I have no idea who the manufacturer for the mask is here, and no idea what filter he has in place right here. I guess he suspected, or he thought out in his head that, as this thing went on, they would try to use tear gas against him, and he'd have a gas mask on, whatever. I mean, if you ain't got to wear the gas mask, you ain't got to have it on, don't even fucking put it on, because it impedes your ability to aim your rifle very accurately, depending on and that really depends on the mask design as well, especially for ones that have a side filter on them. The one on the front there, it can work, but still you got that big plexiglass shield in your face and everything. It impedes your ability to get a good cheek weld on a rifle and aim a rifle very well. The helmet here, judging by the sheen from the flash right here on the inside, I don't think this is going to be an armor helmet. This is probably more or less just a bump helmet. It's just a plastic shell. Of course, it has a night vision shroud on the front. Doubt he had night vision at all. And it has this the rail right there. You see the cup for hearing protection. So, and then you see the foam insert for what looks to be another hearing protection aid. And so, I don't know where the cup for this side is. It could be that, and it just the way it fell off, or the way they took it off, it broke off or something. Not much else to say about this. If it's not, these helmets, and if they're not rated for armor, probably the only benefit of having a bump helmet like this is for night vision. But if night vision is the only thing that you're going to be running, it's not the issued Skull Crusher. Like, that thing hurt. It's usable, but for long periods of time, it fucking hurts. I think it's Cry Precision that makes a skull cap kind of design. It's very soft, meshy material all around it. And you can tighten it to your head. It has a chin strap and everything. It has a night vision mount on there. Cannot remember the name of it. And I'm not even 100% sure if Cry Precision makes it. But that would probably be the best thing to wear. Versus just a bump helmet. Because it's going to be just so bulky, right? And if it's just plastic, it's not offering you any ballistic protection. Aside from that, the only benefit of having this is when you have nods and when you have ear probe that you can clip to these rails and have it as an attached system, and then be able to mount some counterweights to the back or mount, some type of signaling device or whatever. And if you're going to be by yourself, you're not working with anybody, then having a signaling device on the top of your helmet is kind of pointless. And if you don't have night vision and the ability to clip night vision to the front and have counterweights on the back, then at this point the only benefit you're getting is having the ear pads on, which at that point is stupid. Might as well just wear regular ear probe. So just the mere use of this to me is a more further indication this guy has no idea what he's doing, and the fact he's walking around with a gas mask on, there's no fucking gas around. Again, no idea what he's doing.
The officer who returned fire in this incident has been on the department approximately 4 years and is assigned to the Cactus Park precinct. The suspect in this case has been identified as Isaiah Williams, a 24-year-old male. This incident is the subject of an internal investigation. It will also be reviewed by the mayor. The suspect in this case...
Alright, so they didn't show a whole lot of footage. Going to a news article from azfamily.com. I'll just read the whole thing. A police incident report that... Ugh, let me just restart this. A police incident report that's over 300 pages long details the night 2 people were shot and killed and 2 officers were hurt last month, and what the shooter's parents say might have led up to the tragic event. So, Sunday, August 28th, shooter opened fire in the parking lot of Days Inn near 26th Avenue and Deer Valley Road, which during this video, they redacted the name of the place. That makes no fucking sense to me when it ends up coming out later anyway. But anyway, 24-year-old Isaiah Williams wearing ballistic vest, gas mask, helmet, and knee pads. He was also carrying an AR-15 rifle, Molotov cocktail, and a Taurus 9mm handgun. Oh, and the fact that he's rocking around with a Taurus 9mm handgun, that's even further evidence this guy's a fucking idiot and doesn't know what he's doing. In surveillance video recently released by the Phoenix Police, Williams can be seen shooting at various cars in the parking lot, including one with 5 people inside. The 2 people who died were 44-year-old Carla Garzona and 36-year-old I don't know how to pronounce this. It's Misael Mazael Arevalo. Officers arrived moments later and were immediately fired upon. In the newly released report, one officer described how quickly everything changed. He said he and other officers were responding to the active shooter call when he began hearing popping sounds. He said he then saw a dark figure standing on a nearby sidewalk, shooting at his and other officers' SUVs. The officer said several rounds hit his windshield and he pulled over. He said he was pinned down by gunfire and took cover between the driver and front passenger seats. The officer tried to drive to a safer location, but gunfire disabled his Tahoe. The officer then described how he got out of the Tahoe and that he couldn't see because blood from shrapnel injuries to his head was pouring down his face into his eyes. He stayed up against the SUV because Sense was still being shot at and radioed for help. Other officers were able to get him to safety and he was taken to a nearby hospital. The officer said he was terrified that the gunman was going to ambush him because he couldn't see very well. So I guess this was the guy that was in the back of the Tahoe. Second officer injured. Another officer was met with gunfire. When he arrived, according to the incident report, the officer felt pressure on his arm and realized he was bleeding. They drove to a safe location where the officer he was with applied a tourniquet and drove him to a hospital. That's where doctors found the officer had up to 3 gunshot wounds to his left shoulder area, one of which fractured his arm. When the dust settled, 3 people were dead, 2 officers were hurt. The suspect, Williams, had taken his own life. In the days that followed, investigators worked to determine what led up to the shooting. So that second officer that is injured, great use. Well, it sounds like a great use of a tourniquet. With that many rounds, he could have, had some severe bleeding from the arm, or from his arm with a rifle round. Those rounds that went to the shoulder area, a tourniquet, you can only go so high on the arm with a tourniquet. So at that point, that would be something where you need some compressed gauze, pressure bandage, etc. To deal with that. Sometimes when people are shot in the arm or leg, a tourniquet isn't even needed because they don't have arterial bleeding. People just think, oh, he's been shot in the leg, we got to put a tourniquet on him. That boils down to a training issue. So without seeing any visuals, I wouldn't be able to say whether or not he needed a tourniquet or not, but just throwing that out there. Anyway, moving forward on the article. The gunman's past. Officers spoke with a high school classmate of Williams, who had known him since around 2011. The classmate described Williams as normal and wasn't aware of any mental health issues. but that he had noticed a change during the pandemic and George Floyd-related protests. He said Williams' social media posts had increasingly become anti-government and anti-law enforcement. Williams had recently graduated from Arizona State University, but hadn't been able to find a job. In the report, officers found a text conversation on Williams' phone where he had thanked a man for the talk and for recommending a book titled The Destruction of Black Civilization. Williams identified and met with the other man, who was a professor at a Houston area university. He also drives for Uber on the side, and Williams had been a passenger 4 days prior to the shooting. His parents told investigators that Williams had bought a plane ticket to Houston about a week before the shooting. He had recently sold his car and told his parents he was going to Texas and then possibly leaving the U.S. He never left the country and returned to Arizona a few days later. His parents became concerned about his mental state a few months before the shooting after several issues had taken a toll. The incident report mentions fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic, racial tension, police violence, and the current state of the economy. His parents said they took away his AR-15 rifle and 9mm pistol because they were worried he might hurt himself and locked them away in a gun safe. It's unclear if those were the same weapons used in the mass shooting. His mother told investigators she never thought in her wildest dreams that he would hurt other people. Because of Williams' death, the report ends by saying the investigation has been closed. That's the interesting part right there, with parents take his guns away from him. He's an adult, right? 24 years old. His parents take his guns away and lock him up. Because they notice, something's not right with him. It's interesting. So obviously there's something not right with this guy. What is right with active killers, right? There's nothing right about him. So he has, this anti-government, anti-law enforcement view. That in and of itself can be motivation for someone to want to do something against government people. But those people who are in that car, they're not government. Why the fuck do you shoot them for? They could have been a means to an end, I guess. He knew if he shot some people that the police would come there. That could be what he was thinking about why he shot at them. Because there were other people that he aimed his gun at but did not shoot. And that was... there he goes out shooting at the car. Boom. So here's these people, right? You see him on the outside of the door pointing a gun at them. He doesn't shoot them. Why doesn't he shoot them? I don't know. That's a good question. This 300-page report, I wish I could find that. Sadly, I think that's probably something they only provided to that particular news agency, or that news agency or entity did a open records request, and they got it. They just haven't, publicly posted it or anything. The guy himself, Isaiah Williams, I'm not sure if he's a white guy or black
knee
guy.
pads and armed with a rifle.
He looks light-skinned or white from here, so not really sure what his race is. And it doesn't say in the news article either. He graduated from a university. He's got a diploma, right? He wasn't able to find a job. Who knows what his, I don't know if they mentioned what his, no, they didn't mention what his degree was or anything like that. So, no idea what his degree was. It could have been something stupid, and that would be an obvious indicator why he can't get a job in that field. Or it could have been something that, could be useful for anything, and could have got a job with it. Jobs are out there. Some of them aren't as nice as others. Some of them kind of suck. Some people refuse to, work lower-end jobs. They hold out until a better one comes around. That could be why he didn't have a job. He didn't want to go work at Walmart, or didn't want to go work at, McDonald's or something. He wanted something more in line with his stuff. I don't know.
Helmet, a ballistic vest, a gas mask, knee
So we see that he has
pads, and armed with
this
a rifle.
stuff on. I'm assuming this is probably going to be a hydration bladder hose. So it looks like he might have a Camelback on his plate carrier there. It's hard to say for sure.
Including a helmet, a ballistic vest, a gas mask, knee
Looks like an EOTech or a site that mimics an EOTech.
tactical gear, including a helmet, a ballistic vest, a gas mask, knee pad.
If he's rocking around with a Taurus pistol, then something tells me that he's probably not going to have good quality stuff on the gun. Or it could be that he did get a good quality EOTech sight, and that set him so far back he couldn't afford a good pistol. Because an EOTech sight is about the price of a gun.
And armed with
You can see those ear cups mounts on the side of his helmet right there that I talked about earlier.
a rifle and holding a Molotov cocktail.
I wish they would have provided some more photos
Gas
of
mask,
his gear.
knee pads,
I
and
get a better idea what's going on there. Have no idea what this white thing around his rifle is. Don't know what that is.
gear, including a helmet, a ballistic vest, a gas mask,
It's really hard to make out what that
knee
is.
pads, and
But whatever it is, it looks like something black going across.
armed with a rifle.
No idea. No idea what that could be. Yeah, there's not much else to say about this video. I think I hit all the topics that I was wanting to hit. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.